Diamondbacks preview day. Hello, welcome to the show. The MLB Data Warehouse podcast. It is Christmas Eve. As I do this one, it's Monday. Christmas is Thursday. Maybe you're listening later, but for those listening before Christmas, Merry Christmas. Everybody's favorite holiday. Probably not everybody's, but probably the most common favorite. I am ready. Almost got for people watching, we got gifts behind me and the wrapping stuff being set up. You always forget about that, right? When you got 3 kids, you think you're all done. You think the shopping's done. You got it all taken care of. And for me too, I have my wife's birthday is the day after Christmas, and my daughter's birthday is the 27th. So it's back to 3 days in a row. I got to get gifts. I got to take care of it all. I probably should see it. And just now, I'm like, I got to go get that cake stuff for my wife because you can't do it the day before. You like, man, dang, I can't do this stuff the 25th. So even if I bet a lot of you guys that I'm talking to, you probably have snuck out many times the day before your wife's birthday, pieced it all together. Not an option for me. I have to at least be thinking ahead more, at least 2 days. And Christmas Eve's a little bit tough too. So I got some work to do tomorrow. Now the gifts are all wrapped, but I typically make her some filet mignon and a cake. Cookie cake, she's pretty. So I just need to get like the big thing. Anyway, you don't care about that, but yeah. But so now we're here, and you think it's all done, or mostly done for Christmas, and then you get to like the day, couple days before, and the kids go to bed, and you're like, all right, cool, I can like kind of relax now. Work's done, the kids are taken care of, we can kind of chill, watch a football game or something. But then you're like, dang, I didn't wrap any of these presents. And 3 kids, 3, 4, 5, 6 gifts, depending on how much, if they're big or little. We're kind of a family to go like a handful, 5 to 10 small, less expensive gifts rather than one or 2 big things, but it's a lot to wrap. Woe is me. Of course, and it also bothers me that like it's all materialism that I know a lot of people don't believe. Even Christians, I don't think really, they would say they do believe in like this idea that God came to earth as a human being. Okay, Christians believe that. Like, I would, if you don't believe that, then you're not technically a Christian, right? Like, but we just like underestimate that somehow. Our brains can't understand that. So the people that, of course, everybody celebrates Christmas, even if you're not like, if you're just a standard average American who like you're almost nominally Christian. It's just kind of the culture here. But Christmas has become about everything but the true meaning. And that makes sense if you don't believe the true meaning. Like, what are you going to do? Celebrate something you don't believe in? And then, so I don't know. I'm not trying to be grumpy about it, but it's just like, well, everybody's got to get a gift, and we got to kind of keep it. How many gifts should I get them? Are they going to get me more? How much should I spend? And it's all just like, man, it's bad. Even our family, we try to, be chill, and we're all very religious, if you want to call it that. And it just still becomes like all about material and making sure everybody has what they need and gifts and all the craziness and stuff. So it's too bad. From a Christian perspective, if I'm talking, if I'm really going to give you the heavy hitting Christian like stuff, which I would love to, but I try to not to too often. Like, I imagine that the whatever you want to call the opposite of God, right? Satan, the devils, demons, all this stuff. If Jesus really did, if Christmas is true, the Jesus enemies have done a pretty great job at distracting from it. What better way to corrupt this realization of a savior that came to earth as a human to live and die, so you don't have to spend eternity away from him after this life. A pretty good way to distract that is make it all about materialism and money and vanity. And it's not even about that. Most people would say that if you asked everybody worldwide, like, what's Christmas about, they wouldn't say it's all about gifts, right? Like, nobody says that. But in reality, that's what it is. But what they say is love and family and friends. And even that's wrong. I mean, it's not right. If it's true, if Jesus is true, if he wasn't just a normal person, if he was God incarnate, come to earth so that we could be right with God, to have eternal salvation, it's not about that you love your friends and family. That's all pretty meaningless in the end. You don't. That's overly harsh, but compared to the eternity in heaven that you can have by accepting the truth of Christianity, like, yeah, your relationship with your friends and family is pretty meaningless. But there you go. 5 minutes of that. So that's where we're at. It's Christmas, but my kids are out over at a grandma's house. We call her Gigi, which I was listening to Sebastian Maniscalco last night, making fun of people that call their grandparents by cutesy names. He was like, yeah, grandpa, PP and papa or poop or whatever. And he had this joke, it's funny, look it up. He's like, guy served in World War II and he's 9 years old, he's been called Poopa or whatever. Man, that guy's one of the best, Sebastian Maniscalco. But they're over there doing Christmas cookies. I have turned off the work laptop, and instead of running over there to decorate some cookies, we're doing a Diamondbacks podcast. But we are going to try to keep it short. I believe these are, what I want to do now is I want to use this podcast, like, full disclosure, I want to use it to create paid subscribers. So I've realized with the first 10 or so podcasts I did, the first 10 team previews, again, I won't be able to get the stats on this until February, March anyway, when people are, I imagine that a lot of people start getting ready in February and they go back and read the team previews and stuff. But early signs were that the paid subscribers were just reading it, not listening to my podcast for it. So we're going to just kind of keep it. We'll put these all on the free, out on the free feed, and just keep it very general. Housekeeping stuff, though, big day today, man. I mean, December 22nd, Tim Kanak, the guy doing all the prospect stuff, Fantasy Ace Ball, finished up the top 150. He's ranked 700 some prospects, and it's all available. It's all out there now. So the top 150 with his write-ups and everything are on the web app, which I'll give you a quick glance at it. So, be ready to look real quick. I'm not going to give you much. I'm actually going to shrink the screen. But after you're in there with the password, here it comes. You can click prospect ranks, and here's what it looks like. I'm going to hide it. I'm going to do my best here. Although I'm not going to be able to. So anyway, top 150 with, okay, you're going to get to see the top 10, whatever, no big deal. F scores, profiles, full scouting reports for everybody. Tim just did a ton of work. Let me hide that now, get that out of here. Tim did so much work on that. He's always done that. It's not even like he's been doing this for years, just kind of doing it for himself and not making any money off of it, really. For the love of it, he's got a good job. He doesn't need the money necessarily, but now he's part of MLB.DW, and you can buy a paid subscription here, and I pay him parts of that, obviously. And you can get his top 150, and there's also an option for $29.99. Go buy his full package, everything. It's 700 some projection players ranked. There's 3-year ranks, 5-year ranks for dynasty leagues in case you're in if you're in different situations with your dynasty teams. If you need a short-term build, a long-term build, different rankings for that. Obviously, the younger guys are going to be higher up in the 5-year ranks, and vice versa. Redraft ranks, he's got if you want his rankings instead of just mine, which I think is good, use them both, compare them both. He's got his redraft rankings for 2026, so that's big. All the F scores are in there, and so that's a little bit extra. It's a one-time thing for $29.99, but super helpful for dynasty leagues, and it would just really help. It would help me if we can get Tim a significant chunk of a payday from that. Then he'll be appreciative of me, and he'll stick around, and we won't lose him. Because I ain't doing this prospect stuff. This ain't happening. I'm not writing up 150 prospects in addition to I'm the major league guy. So that's how it's going to work. So let's talk about some major league business right now with the Snakes. We're going to pull up the rosters. I'm getting better at StreamYard. We're doing images now when we can rather than screen sharing because they just look better. So here's the roster. I mean, the Diamondbacks, after a World Series trip 2 years ago, right? 2023, it was Rangers Diamondbacks. They got to the World Series, and since then, it hasn't gone well. They haven't been bad. They led the league in runs in 2024, and I think they were in the top 10 last year too. So they score runs, but now things are kind of bottoming out. They missed the playoffs last year. They were sellers at the deadline. They got rid of Eugenio Suarez, and now Zach Gallen he's not signed anywhere yet, but it doesn't look like he's coming back. They're talking about Ketel Marte. He's got the big contract extension. He's not due to be a free agent, but it looks like they're trying to dump him possibly via trade to free up some salary. It's just kind of rebuild time for the Diamondbacks. You would think that you'd think that the Diamondbacks could be a bigger market team, wouldn't you? I mean, Phoenix, Arizona is a pretty massive population, but at least Maricopa County, is that where Phoenix is? I know from election stuff that like Maricopa County is the third or fourth or fifth something biggest county. So there's a lot of people in Arizona. They're the only team there. I don't know. Maybe the TV deals haven't worked out, or there's not a lot of interest being just a different part of the country. Seems like the more north you go in America, the more sports people get into sports, maybe with the exception of Texas. I don't know. Like Florida, nobody seems to care about baseball and other sports in Florida relative to other cities. And then you got New York, LA, Philadelphia, like these kind of northern cities. People just go crazy for sports. So I don't know what the deal is, but kind of surprising to see the Diamondbacks kind of having to do the small market approach of all right, we got to shed some payroll. We got to rebuild this thing. Corbin Burns, they had the friendly contract on him. Let's pull up the pitching. We see on the screen here the projected lineup. So before we go to the pitching, I mean, it's Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll, Geraldo Perdomo, and then scrubs. Maybe that's not all total scrubs. There's worse lineups for sure, but Moreno, Pavin Smith, Blaze Alexander, Adrian Del Castillo, Jordan Lawler, Alec Thomas. I mean, it's not good, and they're not really active in free agency. If they're talking about getting rid of Marte, right, that's where you tells you where their head is. They're not going to land a big name free agent. They're not signing Kyle Tucker or anything like that. I mean, I don't think so. So I don't think it's going to be a great team, and the pitching staff looks real rough. I mean, this is a bottom 5 or 6 rotation. I think of the worst rotations off the top of your head. Cardinals, Rockies, Athletics, and then they're probably kind of in the tier or two above them. Kelly, Nelson, Erod, Fott, and Soroka. Kelly and Soroka were big additions, and they'll get Corbin Burns back in July or August. So by the end of the year, it could be okay. And I mean, Erod and Ryan Nelson are pretty decent as well. So I suppose that was, maybe they are, maybe they're not quite in the bottom tiers. There's not a truly bad pitcher. I guess you could argue that Brandon Fott has been pretty bad, and Soroka and Erod are certainly no aces, but with Burns back and with, I don't know, they're just, none of these guys are great, right? Like they're all just kind of whatever. And there's like 5 or 6 of those kind of guys. So let's talk about some of what are we doing here? Let's just go through the major points in the Snakes preview. And we start with Corbin Carroll, of course. The big power breakout last year. It was crazy to see. If we just kind of let's zoom in on this a little bit. There's a video section of this podcast, but I will, as always, try to not, if you're just listening, then it'll work out fine. So Corbin Carroll 2024 popped down to a 231 batting average and hit 22 homers in 158 games. And that was after the 54 steal season for Carroll in 2022, like his first full season. 25 bombs, 54 steals in 2023. And then 2024, injuries, I think it was a shoulder thing, really crippled him. But looking back on it, like in his career, you're going to look at 2024, I think, and be like, what happened there? And I guess it was safe to say that it was injury related, because it was not a great season for him. I mean, he's been a first round fantasy picks pretty much since that 2023 season, maybe a little early second round a couple times, but yeah, 22 homers and a 231 batting average is not what you want from your top 1 or 2 hitter on your fantasy team. But last year added some Ks, but the power, man, 31 homers, 32 steals, a 30-30 season, total stud. Again, he hasn't been a 50 steal guy like we saw in 2023, but who's complaining about 260 batting average, 31 homers, 32 steals from a dude that's only 25? He still could have his best years to come. Power, all the power indicators on 107.4 EV90. I mean, this is a small guy with big air pull, 18%, and just a ton of bat speed for his frame. I mean, really impressive stuff. 107.4 EV90, 379 expected WOBA for Carroll last year, 14.2% barrel rate. All this stuff was just almost unpredictable. Nobody would have been projecting that stuff. So You have the question of will those power gains stick? I don't see why would you expect why would you not expect that? Like he did it over a full season, all of the bat speed and underlying stuff back it up. I mean, maybe he doesn't hit 31 homers again, but he certainly profiles as a much better power guy than what we thought a year ago, right? Like legitimate gains there. Maybe it was just a choice too. Like a lot of these guys can just kind of choose, like, okay, I'll swing a little harder, go for a little bit more power. So Carroll's an easy first round pick. There's kind of a tier one this year: Ohtani, Judge, Witt, and Soto. That's what the people say. I don't even have Soto in that top tier, which I guess we'll have to talk about. We'll talk about extensively, I suppose, as we get closer to draft season. I mean, it's only December 22nd. It is draft season for guys like me doing DCs and stuff. But yeah, tier two is where Carroll lands. So he's in the back half of the second round. J-Ram, Soto, Ellie, Acuna, Julio Rodriguez, and Carroll. Just these kind of 30-30 guys that aren't quite Ohtani, Judge, Witt. And I don't know. I would be pretty pumped to have 6th or 7th or 8th pick and end up with J-Ram, Carroll, Ellie, or Acuna. Like that seems to be my favorite place to draft. Although it's nice to have, Ohtani and Judge and whatnot, but it's a good, as usual, the first round's loaded. I like the idea of starting at pick 9, pick 10, maybe lucking into getting Carroll, or just one of these guys is going to fall a little bit, right? And maybe you get Carroll or maybe you get Ellie and pair him with an ace pitcher or something like that. That sounds pretty good. But yeah, in fairness, I mean, Ohtani, if you're in the league where you can use him as a hitter and a pitcher, he kind of does separate. So maybe you do want the number 1 overall, but more on that to come. And it's largely up to you guys anyway to decide. Don't let me tell you everything. Ketel Marte, 32-year-old second baseman. He's just really, really, what I wrote about here is just his batting average stability. One of the few guys that really hits for a clean batting average every year. But the key with Marte is just, he has had power consistently in the last few years. While we didn't really have that 2021, 2022, we kind of had power outages and some hamstring stuff that held him down, but no problems in the last couple of years clearing a good home run number every single year. And the difference is just second base being so weak. If we look at the projected roto values at second baseman in my model, this is a little bit outdated. I've done some big projection updates, but still holds. Like Marte, Terang, and Nico Horner are the clear top 3 in the that is not. So Jazz Chisholm should probably be on here, but I only have him as a third baseman, so I guess throw him on here. But Marte with the batting average edge over Jazz, like there's just a big potential opportunity cost benefit thing at second base. If you get one of these guys, like if you draft Marte in the 3rd round and he gets the season he's projected for, and the projections are mostly right, like the rest of your league is going to be hurting at second base. There's some steals guys and stuff, but Marte is like way ahead. I think, if you're looking at position stuff, second base certainly stands out as a place where you can get a boost from having the best guy. So projections 30 bombs, 6 steals, 281 batting average. Not a lot of steals, but just pair him with a high steals guy early on, and you get a high batting average. You get a lot of homers, a lot of counting stats from a second base position where nobody else will be getting that stuff. It's a buy for Ketel Marte for me. I think that's probably the first time I've been really into him too. And the trade, I don't know. A trade, we'll see. It could go either way, I guess. Like the Diamondbacks have been a positive overall lineup. They've scored a bunch of runs the last 2 years. The Park's nothing special. He's a switch hitter, though, so he kind of plays. It's a little bit of a unique situation there where the Park doesn't matter quite as much as it does. It depends, I guess. But, if he goes to the Yankees, obviously big boost. But if he could end up with, I don't think he's going to go to the Tigers. But just for that example, like, there's parks that are worse. There's parks that are better. There's certainly now lineups that are a lot better. So I think a trade would probably be good for his fantasy value rather than bad, but we'd have to wait to see what the individual thing is, what the trade is, if it even happens. And there's certainly no guarantee that it actually does happen. Geraldo Perdomo, shortstop, 26-year-old. He got MVP votes last year. A lot of that is defensive stuff, but yeah, the guy got 21 votes for a top 4 MVP finish. 3 people voted for him behind Ohtani. So there's 30 voters. So all these, Ohtani won the unanimous, got all 30 first place votes, but Perdomo got 3 second place votes. I wouldn't have done that. I think that's a little crazy, but whatever. He finished 4th in the MVP voting. Again, a lot of that's about his defensive prowess, but he was good with the bat. I mean, he jumped up to a 138 WRC plus. That was after a 102 the year before, a 36-point gain. He hits 20 bombs, 27 steals, 290 batting average. But maybe I'm giving too much away. I'm basically just reading this to you, but I'm pretty out on him. The thing about Perdomo, that kind of the one point, I'm trying to just make one point about every hitter, not doing a good job at that. But the point to make about Perdomo is that his 90th percentile exit velocity was the second worst in the league for guys above 20 homers. So I looked at the 20 homer club and I took the lowest EV90s. Mookie Betts was number one, and Perdomo at number two. Of course, they both barely qualify just with 20 homers, and most of these guys are barely getting over 20. But it's like Betts, Perdomo, Steer, Altuve, Paredes, all under 103 EV90. Cody Bellinger also under 103. But you should know that explanation, right? These guys pull a bunch of fly balls. Like that's how he's always done it. Altuve, Paredes on there as the Astros guys that can pull fly balls like few others can. Take advantage of the small ballpark. Same thing with Spencer Steer, good ballpark. But Perdomo doesn't have a good ballpark, and he still did that. So the key point is just like he's not going to hit these homers again. And I think the price is priced as if he can be 2020 guy again. And my projection is 15 homers, 16 steals, 274 batting average. Perfectly fine and good. Not a bad player by any means, but you're buying high on him, and it's just not something I'm into. Gabriel Moreno, what's the point to make about him? Just needs to stay healthy. 83 games last year, but a 281 hitter in the last 4 seasons when he's been in the lineup. Not a lot of power, but did reach a career best 2.9% home run rate last year. That's home runs divided by plate appearances. So could have a pretty good season. I mean, no steals, but you don't get steals from catcher. And he's one of the catchers with a good batting average plus a dozen homer upside. And really last year he was playing at like a 13, 14 homer pace if he was given the extra 40 games or so that he missed with injuries. So Adrian Del Castillo is here, which is somewhat interesting. And I don't think Moreno is going to get DH reps, but if he's healthy, he plays, he makes 130, 125 starts at catcher. You got 280 batting average, you got 12, 13, 14 homer upside. And yeah, he's the number 5 projected catcher in batting average. 12 homers, 4 steals, 273 average is the projection. So not a standard league catcher, but perfectly fine in a 2-catcher league. And honestly, maybe in a little bit too cheap because he's been pretty good with the bat. Jordan Lawler, I've bought into him. I think I've drafted him twice already. I've done 7, 8 drafts. There's just not a spot. There's no competition really that I see at third base for him. Perdomo, obviously, the shortstop. Suarez is gone. Lawler is going to get another chance. He's only 23 years old. Minor league numbers are still really good. Major league numbers are bad, but hasn't really gotten a full shake, a full consistent opportunity, and they should do that for him this year. You can already tell that the Diamondbacks don't have big sights on making the playoffs or winning the World Series. Not that they can't. It's pretty easy to make the playoffs relatively, and the Diamondbacks are a team that's overperformed, quote unquote. So I'm not saying that they just like are playing give up from day one, but they should be looking to see what they have in Lawler, give him a full run out there, let him play that third base defense, which I believe he's quite good at. And we'll see what happens there because power and speed are there. My projection in 360 plate appearances only, 11 homers, 14 steals, 220 batting average. That comes from a high strikeout rate. But we often see these young guys in their second or third year really climb up the ranks, drop the K rate down, and that immediately boosts the batting average up. So plenty of upside for Lawler. I mean, you shouldn't be shocked if this guy goes 2020, 240 batting average with maybe even more upside than that. So I'd like to get a piece or two. I have him ranked pretty low. I guess I put him below Carson Williams and Connor Norby. I guess we'll have to see. He hasn't really done anything in the majors to justify being ranked high, but yeah, I kind of like. I think I'll move him and Carson Williams up above like Christian Moore and Jared Triola maybe, as I'm showing on the screen some of the shortstop, some of the third basemen that they're ranked around. But I don't know. I guess everything we just said is potential. He hasn't shown anything in the majors to make you think that he can actually do any of that stuff. So those are the main bats. I guess there's some other guys to cover if you really want to get kind of deep. But I'm really trying to focus on the top 400 players or so, and there's just not much behind those 4 or 5 names. Adrian Del Castillo, I suppose, deserves a look because I was pretty pumped about him last year. And he just kind of slipped through here. Last year in the majors, didn't really get a lot of playing time, 44 games for Adrian Del Castillo. Only a 392 slug. I thought he would be a heavy power guy. I'm no surprise that he struck out a ton, 36%, but I really thought he could pile up some homers, but didn't do it. Got a lot of balls in the air, fly ball rate really high at 49%. Should get another shot. I mean, this is a 25-year-old guy. huge minor league numbers, but discouraging last year, and he'll probably be a part-time player, I would say, more likely than anything. Where do we go? All right. So pitching wise, we can take it pretty quick here. Corbin Burns, not really worth analyzing because he will be out until mid-July at the earliest. He had Tommy John early last season. So if you're in a league where you can stash a guy for free, take Burns with one of your last picks, put him on the IL, and then just maybe he comes around, maybe he makes some big starts for you in the fantasy playoffs, something like that. But he's not going to have a significant fantasy value this year, recovering from the injury. Mike Soroka is here, 1-year deal with the Diamondbacks. Interesting enough for what he has. I mean, I kind of liked him last year. I was recommending people pick him up, stream him, whatever. 4-seam fastball was pretty good. Only 94 miles an hour, but he has a lot of it's either I think he has the vertical movement or the extension or something. Something that those pitching nerds really like. But it still wasn't great. 51% strike rate with the 4-seamer, 102 JA stuff, 354 expected WOBA. Got hit really hard, especially by lefties. Slurve is fine behind it. Sick of these slurs. Can we just call everything a slider? I think I might just freaking merge slurve, sweeper, slider all together. I'm not going to do that because they are different pitches, but it kind of pisses me off. Slurve, 15% swing and strike rate, 40% ball rate. So a little bit wild, but no problem. 15% swing and strike rate's fine. 216 expected WOBA. Nobody could really do much with it. So good against righties, really good against righties. 328 JA Sierra against righties last year, but lefties hit him pretty hard. 8 home runs in a pretty short amount of time. So he's probably outside the top 300, top 350. We could look up the ADP, but yeah, for your 12-team league where you have 25 to 30 rounds to go, I wouldn't really worry about Soroka. He's a decent streamer, but with the age and stuff, the 1-year deal, I mean, it wasn't like a confident. Nobody really seemed to want him in free agency, so I don't think you'll regret not having any shares of Mike Soroka. Ryan Nelson, this guy, this is wild, man. I mean, there's a lot of good analysis here. Shout out to me, to my own horn, but 62% usage on his 4-seamer. That had to be one of the highest 4-seam usages in baseball last year for starters, at least. But it's a good pitch, 96 miles an hour on average, 10.5% swing and strike rate, which is not high for overall, but it's high for a 4-seamer. 53% strike rate, 321 expected WOBA. Just nobody could 12 home runs, so they did get it out of the ballpark, but he threw a ton of strikes with it, only a 29% ball rate, and a 321 expected WOBA for a 4-seamer is pretty solid. I don't know. I don't know if I think it's extension. Yeah, 87th percentile extension for him. So it's just a kind of a goofy, uncommon release point, and that keeps guys off balance. The fastball gets on people a lot quicker, but I don't really care. It's not 99. It's not 100 miles an hour. And if you don't have that kind of velo on a pitch, I mean, it's a good fastball, right? But it's not like a world beater. It's not Paul Skeens. It's not Hunter Green. So why are you using it 62% of the time? Probably just because you think the rest of your pitches suck, and they do. All right. So the cutter, slider, curve, changeup behind it all used 12% or less. The changeup basically not used, just 3% usage, all that against lefties, I assume. But yeah, like there's no ceiling with this guy. You got to have more than one pitch, man. It could get pretty ugly, but Ryan Nelson pitched well enough last year. I think I got to move Shane Baz above him in the rankings. I got to bump him down a little bit, but I do think there's a decent floor because it's a good fastball, and if you have a good fastball, like you'll get innings. He had a really good whip in the second half last year. I mean, he was a guy that really made a big difference for people that picked him up in the middle of the year. Throws a lot of strikes. Again, maybe a fine whip. He'll certainly have some big outings where he gets really deep into the game, gets outs in a hurry because he's throwing so many strikes with a good fastball, but the strikeout rate just isn't going to be there. He doesn't have the secondaries. After that, like, forget about it. Really, you don't I guess I didn't have Merrill Kelly here because he ended up on the Rangers preview, which was already published. But he did. He wouldn't have because he's a free agent. But I ranked Merrill Kelly. I just didn't write him up here. And I don't think I'm going to because it's Merrill Kelly. Like, come on. You'll see the rank. You'll see the projection. It's fine. Maybe I'll give you that in this podcast. But the last guy that I wrote about was Brandon Pfaadt. Just a disaster. A 5.2 ERA last year. His career ERA is like 5 now and just cannot get lefties out. Strikeout rate's limited. At least it was 24% in 2024 for my boy Brandon Pfaadt, a Twitter follower of mine. So it sucks. I thought I had something, I thought when he followed me, we DM'd a little bit. I thought I had this guy that I was kind of friendly with turned into a stud pitcher in major leagues, but then he went out and was not good last year. But at least he got a big contract extension. Seems like a nice guy. I do think it's a bounce back candidate, but bouncing back to a pretty poor pitcher. I mean, the best work he's done is a 4.71 ERA. It was bad luck that year, but he has home run problems, and then just 10.9% swing strike rate last year. Just didn't add anything, didn't get any better. Hitters figured him out, and it's pretty gross. So he is going to be it's going to be an uphill battle, to say the least, for him to provide any fantasy value. Let's go to the projections to pick up some of these other guys we missed. This is all on the web app. You can export them, do with them what you will if you're a paid sub. And they're updated with tweaks and with new, when other systems get to rolling in here in January, I'll be updating that and just making some really cool projection tools and stuff. But for now, anybody we kind of miss that stands out? Not really. I mean, just not a lot of. There's a lot of questions about how this lineup's gonna play out. Carroll, Marte, Perdomo, Moreno, really the only guys you can project in there with confidence. I would put Lawler, and certainly Pavin Smith's going to play against righties. But after that, a lot of questions. Alec Thomas probably in there for his defense, but just not a good lineup in my opinion, especially after the top three. It's going to be pretty rough for them. Steamer's on here. It's kind of always interesting to see where Steamer and I differ. They've got Carroll for more steals. They've got 27 homers for Carroll, 33 steals. I've got the 28-24. My steals projection is pretty low on Carroll. I'm not sure what that's about. 342 OBP, so OBP is a little bit low, but there you go. Let's go over to the pitcher side, and then we'll close it up here. Put a pin in the pod. We don't have wins or saves projections yet. Those will get here, but Merrill Kelly got the story with Kelly, which you already know. You don't need me to tell you about Merrill Kelly probably. Veteran guy, a lot of innings, but poor ratios. I got him for a 3.88 ERA, a 1.2 WHIP, a 22% K rate, 6.6% walk rate. Basically a league average starting pitcher. And that's a streamer. That's a streamer against bad lineups, but it's not someone that, unless you're in a 15-team or super deep league or points leagues, whatever, where you really value the good but not great innings, like Kelly can give you a lot of that. And he's got a job. I mean, he's arguably there. Arguably, right? Is he their ace? Is he the SP1 until I already had that here? Fangraphs says he is until Burns comes back. It's either him or Ryan Nelson. So it's ugly, and that's going to probably take care of it as I put my face back. Hello. Merry Christmas. That's the Diamondbacks. Tons more in that written article. So go to MLBDataWarehouse.com, sign up, get all the prospects up, get everything going on. And it's just the beginning, man. I mean, draft season will get here February, March. I'm just trying to have the best stuff on the internet, and it's only the preseason. So once the season gets rolling and we got actual data, that's where I really shine. So that's it. MLBDataWarehouse.com, and we will see you next time for the next team preview as we roll through all 30, ranking every player of fantasy relevance for 2026.